The duty on schools to make reasonable adjustments to support disabled pupils extends to all areas of school life. The following film illustrates how reasonable adjustments made for educational visits can have a beneficial effect on pupils' learning and happiness at school. When making field trips and educational visits, all schools need to pre-plan using DFES guidelines, make risk assessments and put in place risk management strategies to support all pupils. Schools will also need to consult with disabled pupils and their families and any relevant outside agencies to plan any reasonable adjustments needed to support pupils before any field trip or educational visit. At St Bridget's Primary, staff make reasonable adjustments to ensure that all disabled pupils take part in activities such as swimming, field trips and educational visits. Matthew and Hayley have Down syndrome, and on swimming trips, a teaching assistant is timetabled to be with them and to go into the pool to ensure that they understand what's going on and are able to participate. At Gorsfield Primary, staff have pre-planned a visit to a local museum to ensure that Amy, who has restricted growth, will be fully included.
They're going to Smithers and they're all going to dress up. But nothing will fit Amy because of her size. And her class teacher's actually gone out of her way and phoned them up. So they're going to make something that will be all right for her to wear instead of her not having anything. If you think that there's a problem where they're going to have a difficulty in doing something or going anywhere, you only have to ask. And it just seems... They sort of help, don't they? Yeah.
Cleves Primary has resource provision for pupils with severe learning difficulties. Each year, Cleves makes two-night residential trips with Year 4 pupils to Newham's Outdoor Activity Centre. Children and staff live on the Hay Bay barge on the estuary and take part in a wide range of activities at the centre and in the locality. These visits are planned to build friendships, confidence and teamwork. They are also planned to broaden the children's experience of outdoor activities and the rural environment. All children are included on the trips. Staff at Cleves plan using DFES guidance and their experience of the centre from previous visits. They make general plans well ahead of any visits and plan the details with staff at the centre in the couple of months leading up to a visit.
Each trip contains individual children whose needs we have to take into account. So the particular trip that you saw, there were children with very high level support needs. And so what would happen is that the team would get together and look at the kinds of activities that are on offer at the barge, the sleeping arrangements and the staffing arrangements. We'd also look at how the children with high-level needs are going to get there, because the bus that transports the rest of the group doesn't have a tail lift. So it means we have to think about transport and friendships, which group will go with Aziz and Shaveen on a tail lift bus that we then hire and is driven by one of our staff.
One reasonable adjustment for sleeping on the barge is to make up some beds on the upper floor.
We had children with disabilities who may not be able to be evacuated if they're downstairs in the cabins in a fire. So we then problem solved it. And so what happens is on those occasions when they're children with that level of need, they are actually accommodated upstairs in the saloon. There are also things like children who have never been away from home before, and we find out from their parents what their sleeping patterns are and what kind of support they need at night time or in the morning. We find out about things like dietary requirements, all those kind of things about the human being, about the person.
Dominic and the team at Newham's Outdoor Centre make adjustments to include disabled pupils in all activities.
3, 2, 1, go! There are no barriers. It clearly involves a lot more thought. Something like archery, we have special bows that require less power to pull them back, but you can support them on that as well. With rock climbing, often you may have children who, have very weak legs or weak arms. You can set up a hoist system. So rather than necessarily having to rely on all their body strength, you can use the ropes in a 3-way pulley system so that you can assist them with whatever body movements they've got. Obviously, we try and choose sites for activities that are, better for wheelchair access, but ostensibly, they join in everything.
Cleves children visit the outdoor centre for 2 days, and often the school takes 2 different groups of children in the same week.
How we work it here is there is always a balance of staff who have been to, for example, the barge before, and those people that are new to the barge. And we also do things like often we have one member of staff who stays for the whole week. So there's a kind of transition from one group to the next group. We would never put a new member of staff in a position whereby they were entering into an experience without the support from the rest of the team, really.
Did it hurt you? It didn't, did it? Hold it flat like a crossbow. Do the next to yourself.
Some of the children that we take to the barge have medication needs, and so it's very much a partnership with parents. We find out from parents what are the needs of the children.
Following this, healthcare professionals and parents sign permission letters for staff to administer medicines, and staff who volunteer receive any training needed from the school nurse. All medicines are checked and double-checked for all trips and outings from the barge.
We always take enough staff to support the children. We wouldn't go on any trip that didn't enable us to include all the children.
Medical needs training is updated regularly, and all staff on trips are familiar with each pupil's emergency healthcare plan.
We have medical management plans drawn up in partnership with the parents. What we would do is, before we're going away, the curriculum support teacher would have a discussion with parents to just ensure that our knowledge was up to date. And that goes for children who have asthma pumps right through to children who have high medical needs.
Yesterday, Shaveen and Aziz experienced the assault course with the aid of hoists. Today it's canoeing, with canoes battened together for on-water stability and pupil confidence. Katrina, the curriculum support teacher, is familiar with the centre's activities, and another reasonable adjustment is that leading up to this trip, she and Aziz have been practising comfortable sitting positions for the canoe.
It was the first time that Aziz was away, so that was really exciting, and he enjoyed it very much, and the relationships that he formed with the children were really wonderful. So I would say that yes, his communication skills have developed, and his friendships have developed.
What advice would Dominic give to teachers to help ensure that trips away are successful for all pupils?
Clearly they'd need to do an on-site visit. They'd need to talk to the instructional team that are going to work with them directly. It's no good just necessarily meeting the boss of a centre, because they may not actually be working with the group, so it's key to meet the actual instructors who are going to work with them. And as far as possible, go on site visits, assess the risks of the different places you're going to and the different activities. And one of the things that I've learnt that the teachers need to know is a clear idea of timescale, because that, you know, they obviously have their own timescale that they're used to in schools, and they need to fit as much as that they can, the routines of the children's days, into their days at the centre here.
A really key resource is other children, their peer groups really, friendships, the support. You will have seen at the barge the relationships between some children and the children with high level support needs were fabulous, just wonderful.
I think that was really good, really, really good. So yeah.
Where are you going to be? Hello. Okay. Don't forget who needs what. Italy, do something.
The Petersfield School is a secondary with 1,200 pupils. Each year, staff take Year 7 pupils camping in the New Forest. It's a 3-day trip that's open to all pupils. Peter's in Year 7. He has Asperger's syndrome. One reasonable adjustment made to support him are these preparatory sessions with Chris, the teaching assistant, to ensure that he feels clear about what's likely to happen and is not stressed by this new activity. Together, they have been writing a camping notebook. Peter will carry his book with him, and Chris keeps a copy for reference and in case Peter's book gets lost. In the book, Peter has a list of pre-trip tasks and information about each day's activities. Peter's also written down what he should do if he needs support while he's away. Peter's autism means he often finds relating to his peers very difficult, and changes of routine can be stressful. In preparation for the trip, staff have shared information on Peter's needs.
We work with our additional learning department, who would actually give us clues about being very closed in our instructions, very direct. Pull your socks up to Peter literally means pull your socks up, which he will do. So when Steve goes down, he knows that he doesn't say pull your socks up. He doesn't say, oh, we'll just go and jump in the river. He says calm down, if that's what he means. So we have to be very direct and very clear with him. But because everyone knows that he will be a little bit unaware of how other people are reacting to him, that people will be looking to say, hey Peter, come and join our group and this sort of thing. I think it's a big step for him. I think it's it'll be really, really good for him.
In the lead up to the camping trip, pupils and staff decide together which students will share tents to ensure supportive groups, and Peter is sharing with his friend Chris. At Petersfield, one adjustment is that all Year 7 tutors go on the camping trip, which means that all pupils have the support of an adult that they know well. Just like at Cleves Primary, Petersfield has clear medical protocols. Staff trained in medical procedures go on all trips, and medicines together with clear written instructions are taken on all trips away.
Well, parts of it have been good. Well, most of the parts have been good. Some bits have been slightly not okay than others.
Has a notebook been useful?
It's been very useful indeed. It's helped me just have a good plan of what's going to happen in the camp. I know a lot more people now than I used to do. I hardly knew anybody in GH, but now I know lots of people in GH.
One of the camp activities was a 10-mile walk.
We saw loads of wild deers and we went to an old-style village.
It was interesting, and we had regular stops, but I never want to do it again.
Tara is a disabled pupil in Year 8 at Hall Green School.
Well, when Tara started in Year 7, we'd actually had 2 very bad years. She'd become very depressed about her epilepsy, which is what she suffers from. She'd become very withdrawn, lost all her confidence. And, well, not even 18 months later, she's actually a completely different child.
It's really brought her out. And she loves the trips that she goes on at school, and she takes part in all the activities, never gets excluded, and that sort of really brought her out.
Last year, Tara went camping with the school.
It was really good fun. They had all different activities and like nightline and water fights and staying up late, things like that.
All schools have disabled pupils, and some pupils will have short and long-term healthcare needs. There is no legal duty that requires school staff to administer medicines, but schools can ask staff to volunteer or ensure that some support staff have such a role built into their contract of employment. Staff managing and administering medicine should receive appropriate training and support from registered healthcare professionals. Staff training at Hall Green means that pupils like Tara can take part in all activities, and this year she's looking forward to visiting France with the school. Ellie, another Hall Green student, is a keen sportswoman and has been on 4 skiing trips with the school. Ellie has physical impairments and sometimes uses a wheelchair.
I want to swim for England in the Paralympics. The fun bit is like going up on the chairlift and then going all the way down. And not falling over, I didn't fall over this time.
At Hall Green, one of the reasonable adjustments made to support disabled pupils before skiing trips is for staff to consult the Uphill Skiing Club, a club which provides information and advice on snow sports for disabled people. The school also arranges for Ellie and other disabled pupils to visit a branch of the club at a local dry ski slope.
We also talk to the physios to see if there are any problems, and for insurance purposes the ski company that we go with like a letter to say that the children are capable of skiing, and the orthopaedic surgeon writes a lovely letter each year to say that they are capable of skiing.
Through school trips, Ellie has become a competent skier. Another reasonable adjustment made is that Hall Green staff ensure that ski instructors are aware of disabled pupils' needs, and staff assist disabled pupils as they learn to ski. In addition to hiring some equipment at the resort, the school have bought adapted ski equipment to support Ellie and other students. The provision of equipment is not a reasonable adjustment, but using it in particular ways to support disabled pupils to take part in activities alongside their peers can be a reasonable adjustment. Chris, one of Ellie's friends at school, uses a ski bicycle or scooter.
It clips to the front of the skis because Chris needs a bit more help supporting his own weight. And the instructor who skis backwards then takes Chris along with them, and Chris uses his body weight to turn and to make manoeuvres like that. That's one, and then there's another one that Chris's dad and I have worked with, which was a very, very expensive piece of equipment. Don't laugh. It was very expensive. It cost 50 pence, and it's a broom style where Chris supports himself on the broomstile with skis, free skis, as there's no clips at the front, and he skis down in between my skis, and he's also in control by pushing down the broomstile one side or another to turn, and he uses carving skis which helps him to turn as well. It's a standard joke with us that we bought all this adaptive equipment which we use, but one of the things that gives Chris the sense of freedom and the wind in his face is a 50p broomstile, and it works a treat, and he really does enjoy using that. And it's probably the easiest thing to pack in the coach when we go. We just have to be careful that it doesn't get thrown away as a by the driver. Yes.